The Albatross by Scott Lauder.
16-year-old Molly Mundy stood beside her bed in a long white shirt and rubbed her eyes. Her hair was a mess, and she felt horrible. A storm had woken her up at 3 a.m., and she hadn't fallen asleep again for ages. When she looked at her alarm clock, she groaned. Today was Monday, Memorial Day Monday, and she was wide awake at exactly 7 a.m. She turned and looked at Pip, who was watching her with excited eyes. "Why did I forget to close my bedroom door last night?" she asked herself. Pip was her dog, and she loved him, except when he came into her room and woke her up with a cold, wet nose pressed against her face. She pulled open the curtains and looked outside. The air was clear, and there was almost no wind. "I guess I have no excuse, huh?" she asked Pip. Watching his wagging tail, she slipped on a pair of jeans and pushed her dark hair under her old New York Cosmos cap. "Okay," Molly said, "let's go." Immediately, Pip was at her side, following her down the stairs and into the living room. She pulled on a pair of white sport shoes and called into the kitchen. "I'm taking Pip over to Shell Bay," she said. "Did you have your breakfast?" her father called back. Won't be long," replied Molly. "Hey, you got a key? I'm leaving for work soon," her father said. "Yep." "Have some breakfast when you come back, okay?" "Okay, bye," replied Molly, and with Pip pushing past her, she stepped out of the door. Shell Bay lay to the north of her house, a wide C-shaped line of yellow sand that ran for 3 miles up the coast toward the harbor at Haven. It was a 15-minute walk from her house over the hills to the beach, but she loved going there. Others from Haven sometimes went there too, but she guessed the beach would be empty at this time. At the top of the hill, Molly turned and looked back. Her father waved to her, and she waved back. She watched him get in his car and leave for work. Soon, the car was out of sight, traveling north along Highway 12 to Haven. Her dad worked for Haven Harbor Police, and Molly often worried about him, just like her mother used to do. After her mother died 2 years ago, Molly tried to help out as much as possible, making shopping lists, doing the housework, ironing her dad's shirts, those kinds of things, and walking Pip. Pip gave Molly a quick look and sprinted down the hill to the beach. Molly held onto her cap and ran too. Soon, they were both walking beside the sparkling water. After a while, Molly picked up a stick and was about to throw it when she saw a bird flying to the north. "A falcon," she whispered. The bird flew overhead. She followed it with her eyes, turning to watch until it was too small to see. Then Molly threw the stick for Pip. It fell somewhere on the other side of an old tree trunk that lay near the water. Immediately, Pip went running after it. When he reached the tree trunk, he leaped over it and disappeared from sight. Molly began walking slowly toward him, taking deep breaths of the fresh morning air. A ship that was slowly moving in the direction of Haven caught her eye. Glad I wasn't on that, she thought, remembering the storm from last night. Now Pip was barking loudly. She smiled. He's lost the stick, she thought, and began looking for another one. Then she saw it. Something shiny in the sand. She reached down and picked it up. It was a watch, a gold watch. The time on it said 1:38. She turned it over. On the back, there was writing, but she couldn't understand it. What language is that? She wondered. Pip was now barking madly. What's the matter with him? She could just see his tail from behind the large tree trunk. What is he so excited about? She could see his head above the tree trunk now. He was running around, but his eyes were fixed on something behind the tree trunk. Molly came closer. She stood and stared in horror. An old man lay against the side of the tree trunk, his face to the sky. Molly turned and ran as fast as she could back along the beach. Pip was at her heels. Morning sunshine was pouring in through the cabin's only window. Its yellow light fell on the captain's broad back and his black uniform. With his laptop open in front of him, he sat silently with his eyes on the screen. Andre and Carlos were sitting opposite him. They were watching every move of his face. It was the morning after the storm, and the ship was sailing calmly on a sea of blue. They were near haven now. In a few hours, they could deliver the birds and get their money. "That was a good storm last night," said Andre, to no one in particular. "Shame our engineer didn't enjoy it." Carlos looked at Andre coolly. Andre smiled, showing a row of brown teeth. "Relax," he said. "I know the story. The old man was sick. He fell over the side. We tried to save him, but we couldn't reach him. Then the captain made a distress call to the Coast Guard." "Be quiet, both of you," said the captain. "If the police find him now, we'll spend the next 20 years in prison. Think about that." His words hung in the air for several moments. He switched off his laptop just as his cell phone rang. He answered it and at once began shouting. Andre leaned over to Carlos. "Hopper?" he whispered. Carlos nodded. "Wait!" the captain told the caller. He stared at Andre and Carlos. "Go on deck and keep watch." Andre and Carlos stood up and left the cabin. Behind them, they could hear the call with Hopper continue. Andre whistled happily as he climbed the stairs to the deck. Carlos, however, was far from happy. He didn't like the way the captain spoke to him. But most of all, he didn't like the way the money, the $60,000 for the Falcons, was divided. Why should the captain get 50%? Why should he and Andre each get 25%? Up on deck, he was still deep in thought when Andre pushed the powerful binoculars in front of his face. "There's something you need to see," he said, pointing to a nearby beach. Carlos took the binoculars. "I don't believe it," he said. "Captain's not going to like this," said Andre. Like green flames, Carlos's eyes turned on him.
I told you to put him in chains, did you?
Andre stared stupidly at Carlos.
Well, there was some old rope,
he began to reply.
Did you take out his ID?
Andre said nothing, but a look of panic crossed his face.
You idiot!
hissed Carlos.
I forgot. There was too much to do. He was heavy, and I couldn't— Shut up!
Carlos shouted. He had to think. Levi wasn't deep beneath them at the bottom of the ocean. He was lying on the beach like a sunbather. Even worse, he still had his ID in his pocket. He knew he had to tell the captain and admit his mistake. He had told Andre to take care of Levi instead of doing it himself. But right now, there was only one thing to do. They had to get the old man's body off the beach and hide it somewhere on the ship.
Get the boat, Carlos said. Bring the old man back on board and put his body in the hold.
Mouth open, Andre stood and stared.
Get the boat,
replied Carlos slowly.
Now!